Hello everyone, welcome to TTG Aussie Fest's Great Fishing Adventures of Australia Masterclass. I'm joined today by Dean Cooper, who is Executive Officer for Great Fishing Adventures of Australia at Tourism Australia, and that's one of the Tourist Board's signature experiences. We've also got Josh Hutchinson, who is from Aussie Fly Fisher, an Australia-based tour operator. And we've got Deb Oliver, who's Director at the Australian travel agency Island Travel Specialists and a Virtuoso Travel Advisor. So thank you everyone for joining me today. During this masterclass, we're going to be talking about why fishing is a popular niche for travel in Australia. So what are its USPs and what type of client a fishing trip or holiday down under might be suited to. The fishing experiences available across Australia's states and territories and the best places in which to enjoy them, we will also be covering. And we will hear about a first-hand experience and glean top tips from Deb, who was lucky enough to enjoy a fishing fam trip this March. We'll also be covering details about Aussie Fly Fisher trips, so what an itinerary with the tour operator might look like. If you do have any questions throughout the masterclass, please do pop them in the chat function on the right-hand side of your screen. And after this masterclass, we'll be moving into the live Q&A room, and then you can put your questions to Dean, Josh and Deb, should you have any. So Dean, I'm going to start by coming to you. Why has fishing been identified as a suitable niche to become one of Tourism Australia's signature experiences? I mean, what's so special about taking this kind of trip down under?
Well, how much time do I have? No, seriously, firstly, just a warm welcome. I appreciate that. Thank you, Maddie. But ultimately, it really just connects with the outdoor lifestyles that Australians live on a day-to-day basis. Like, our climate lends itself to immersing ourselves in the great outdoors. It's very, very relaxing, spending some time by your local waterways, or whether you're out on the open ocean, or whether you're just soaking your ankles in a local little freshwater stream. And signature experiences specifically, and the associated collectives to which we'll touch on during other masterclasses, really talks to a traveller's passion points. And the program focuses specifically on those niche sectors. We know that Australia ranks highly for visitors wanting to travel to the country, but you throw a special day trip experience or a multi-day experience into that, and that demonstrates that, yeah, there's truly nothing like Australia.
Okay, great. Well, I would like to think it's time we take a look at what some of these fishing experiences can look like, take a glimpse into the sights and landscapes visitors can expect from the destination. So we'll show you a quick trailer just to give you a little insight into that.
Australia is a fly fishing frontier. Variety of landscape, variety of species, variety of animals. There's just so many things you can catch here. Yeah, boy. Mo! Mo! Oh, yeah.
Keep going right. Yes.
That's a good eat.
There goes the backing. Yeah, it would look like a better fish.
Yeah, it looked good. So it's crazy to think we started this adventure in Tasmania with a full blanket of snow. Can't think of anything different right now. It's been quite the adventure.
So Dean, what types of fishing experiences are available across Australia's states and territories? I mean, what can be enjoyed and where? What are the best locations to enjoy them in?
Yeah, excellent. And just to quickly touch on that little trailer that played there, which Josh can expand on, but that video covers the whole east coast of Australia, so from sort of the bottom in Tasmania all the way through to the top in Cape York. But specifically to your question, Maddie, is that we've got 26 partners in the program across all states and territories. And these operators can cater to an absolute novice all the way through to a lifelong passionate angler. And that's what makes it truly unique. I guess experiences can be in both sort of freshwater and saltwater environments, inshore or offshore waterways, or you can just, I guess, spend your time hiking through some unique Australian bushland into a local little freshwater stream to which Josh will expand on. But certainly in the north of the country, you can be in the same day fishing on the beautiful floodplains in the Northern Territory for a freshwater species like the barramundi, and then you can punch offshore in the afternoon and be chasing sort of your pelagics like your tuna and mackerel and queenfish. And there's not too many places around the world where you can cover off that freshwater and saltwater environment on the same day. From a location perspective, big continent, lots of different weather patterns. And it really depends on what the client is interested in. So what style of fishing they would like to do, whether they want to be offshore or inshore, fly fishing or sport fishing. But really we've got, upwards of 4,000 species of fish. So it doesn't really matter where they're going to be around the country and at what time of the year. With the right guides and the right operators, which is what this program is about, they're going to give you a memorable experience.
Okay. And I know Josh has provided us with a video today to show him out and about on the rivers and experiencing fishing in Australia. So we'll play that for you now, and then we'll come to Josh afterwards to ask some questions.
Snowy Valleys is a really awesome area here in New South Wales. Starts all the way up at the top of the Snowy Mountains and drains out all the way out west to the Riverina. Fantastic big tailwaters as well as natural streams too. This year we got very fire affected up in Kosciuszko National Park at the top of the Snowy Mountains, but luckily the big tailwaters down here in the Snowy Valleys have managed to bounce back and we've had an excellent season. Drifting these rivers is pretty well the best way to see them. In a drift boat, you can get into areas you couldn't otherwise get into and you can fish them more effectively. You can slide up next to a trout that's rising 20 feet away from you and put an awesome cast onto it.
It looks like a marble. Oh wow.
We've had awesome terrestrial fishing right now through summer with plenty of hoppers and cicadas too as well. Early season we have fantastic nymphing as well as the Kosciuszko Dunhatch, which is one of the highlights of the season. It's our largest mayfly and it's really, really cool to see.
This is a bow. There we go, that's why it's going hard. Yes! Dude, the orange on this fish. So cool.
Throughout the season too, you can fish streamers, two-hand rods. I mean, really, there's nothing you can't fish up here if you want to.
Oh, that's a goodie.
Yeah!
Oh, that's special. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, that is such an awesome brownie. Gorgeous little brownie on the dry fly.
So Josh, what type of traveller do you find typically goes on a fishing adventure in Australia? I mean, are there particular demographics that go for this kind of trip? I mean, do they typically tend to be fishing aficionados, or would this be something agents could recommend to beginners as well?
Yeah, I guess it does cover a broad range of people. We have people that for some reason when they've come to Sydney for a holiday just felt like for the first time they wanted to try some fly fishing. So the Blue Mountains tucked in just behind Sydney there, very popular tourist destination for many reasons. Yeah, people may just come out for a learning style day where I guess we can pick them up and they can learn to fly fish, hopefully catch a fish. They'll probably see some kangaroos and wombats and echidnas and all sorts of crazy Australian animals along the way, all the way through to people that are just extremely passionate traveling anglers that look at Australia as a place that have a lot of species that can't be found anywhere else in the world. So things like Murray cod, which is, for many people, it's just like I guess a very large bass style fish that we have. Barramundi, lots of the things we chase up in the north of Australia, fish called a permit. One is called a blue bastard, I kid you not, that's its name. These are Australian fish that people are traveling to tick off. They want to add them to their anglers checklist. So we definitely get, beginners, we definitely get people that are on family holidays that would like to just catch a trout in a different place. Not everyone knows that Australia has some really good trout fishing. We've had trout here since 1864. So yeah, that style of what people are familiar with, plus plenty of other species, is a really good draw card, I think, for Australia. And for us, we, it's that day trip through to a week trip or a couple of week trip that we see all sorts of people booking. In terms of age, doesn't seem to matter. We get all sorts of ages, father and son trips coming out, and mates coming out, and yeah, guys on their retirement style trips or having their 50th birthday celebrations on a trip where they've planned for years to come to Australia and tick off some of those iconic fish.
Okay, great. Something for everyone then. And
Yeah.
Deb, I believe you experienced a fishing trip earlier this year as part of a Virtuoso fam trip. Will you tell us a little bit about it? Where did you go? What did you do? And what did you enjoy most about it?
Well, thanks. Yes, I was very fortunate to be invited to Port Douglas and Cairns, and then up to Darwin, and we flew from there out to the Kakadu to a property called Bamaroo Plains, which was amazing. So getting there is half the fun, flying into Cairns and then the helicopter tour over the reef, so you can actually see some of the fish species, as we're flying over. So that the experience of getting there, as well as the fishing. I personally am a passionate fishing person, so it was particularly exciting for me to get to those regions. And you can fish out of either of those areas, with Port Douglas or Cairns. Having an amazing day on the Great Barrier, and going into amazing fishing areas with the reef and the beautiful water, and the crew were brilliant. I mean, that's part of this the signature experiences, is that they're vetted fishermen and businesses, and very passionate about the environment, but that doesn't detract from the fishing experience, as well as making sure that the marine life's all protected and well cared for, and those that were released well and happily, so that was great. And it was a highlight to come back with such a variety of catch, and they'd already organised to take the fish to a local restaurant while we went and refreshed. We came back and our beautiful caught fish were cooked by amazing chefs, and we had beautiful, like 5, I think it was a variety of 5 different ways they cooked the fish up, and it was amazing. So that was a really great aspect of it. Particularly if you're not a fisherman and, maybe one partner's gone out fishing and come back, then the other gets to experience that, that the fish caught at the end of the day. And the Northern Territory, again, the experience of getting there is part of the package as well. The excitement and flying in the small planes over the vast landscape that Australia has, and fishing. We fished there for barramundi, so we just fished a small variety on the floodplain. So going out by the airboat and having the bird life and the water buffalo, that was amazing. Just having that. So, but if you're a specific fisherman and you were targeting the iconic fish, barramundi or the barra, then you can go and do the more extensive fishing and stay longer and head up the rivers. So yeah, really fabulous trip and great experience.
Okay. And in terms of what you learnt on your trip, did you come back with any selling tips that agents in the UK might find useful?
Yes, I do. I think that you obviously need to understand, which most agents would, what their clients are really specifically after. If they just say they just want a fishing trip, then use the resources available. Use the the Deans and the Joshuas and find out this is what they want to fish for, or this is the month they're looking to travel. Which variety could they target at that time of year, and what sort of are they looking at luxury accommodations, then where can we accommodate this luxury accommodation with that particular fish? So the resources are fabulous on the Tourism Australia site. So utilise that. And again, if you've got a non-fishing partner travelling or a friend travelling, then there are so many experiences available to the person who's not particularly into the fishing side. So they're entertained and engaged, and the cultural experiences, and there's such a variety. So it's not necessarily just a fishing trip for the passionate person. It's also a great trip for all of the travellers, the family or the friends. So yeah, use the resources, I think, is probably the best thing.
Okay, great. And Josh, coming back to you, will you tell me a bit more about Aussie Fly Fisher? Which parts of Australia do you operate tours, and what types of tour do you offer? Do you offer different types of tour for different customers looking for different things?
Yeah, so we're based in New South Wales. We run, I guess, plenty of trips in New South Wales around mostly trouts and Murray cod. These are day to multi-day trips. We also run trips up across the top end of Australia, particularly in Northern Territory at the moment. Some of these are really remote places. Yeah, excellent fly fishing, and they're typically week-long trips. So yeah, we would, I guess, assist the guests arriving to whichever location it would be. They'd have 7 nights, whether it would be in the lodge or a mothership, and then usually 6 full days fishing. So with everything catered for, we can provide all the gear, obviously all the food and beverages, etc. is all provided, the guides. So the trips sort of vary from, as I say, a day trip out of Sydney could be catching some trout, and then people are back at their regular accommodation that night, to travelling to the other side of the country on a very specific fishing trip to, be immersed in some of the most remote parts of Australia. So most of our operations are typically at this stage New South Wales, Queensland, Northern Territory, and it does cover a huge variety of species. And for us, it really comes down to what the client wants. Are they someone that's just looking for a day to escape, someone that wants to learn something new, or are they someone that really wants to immerse themselves in that entire experience and have a week-long trip? And we just cater it to each person's experience, I guess.
Okay. And in terms of any kind of like sample or typical itineraries, what would a typical fishing trip with Aussie Fly Fisher look like? Would it be 24/7 fishing, or do you incorporate other activities? Kind of what's the kind of run of order of things? Yeah,
so most of our trips are quite fishing orientated. I guess people tend to come to us because they see us as an expertise in fly fishing, and they'd like to try something and get right into it. At the same token, we've had plenty of traveling partners come along on the days and enjoy the countryside. And for example, when we do our drift boat trips down in an area called the Snowy Valleys, it's a beautiful area just to sit on the drift boat. Even if you don't like to fish, you're going to see some beautiful birds, you're going to see platypus, you're going to see your partner catch some fish. So a typical day trip for us would sort of start anywhere between 7 and 9 o'clock in the morning. We're going to head out and do some fishing. We may do some tuition before that if that's what the person would like. We'd have some lunch on the river, and usually finish the day sort of early afternoon. And depends how diehard the person is, I guess, and how much they'd like to fish. To, I guess, the other end of the scale, could be a trip up north, maybe flying into Cairns and connecting through to a place called Gove. We would pick the guests up from the airport there, and basically we head straight to a mothership, and we just use that ship to go in and out of the islands for a week long, and chasing all different fish in different locations. The guests would sort of have their breakfast, lunch and dinner on the mothership there, and we're just literally out in the middle of nowhere, immersing ourselves in that fishing and the environment. And so from that itinerary point of view, it's definitely catered to that. But it is nice that we can offer that, even for the person coming into a large city like Sydney. We can cater to a day trip itinerary all the way up through to several weeks if that's what people are after.
Great.
Any boats leaving tomorrow, mate? That sounded really good.
I know it's always good to be up in the warmth of northern Australia when it's winter anyway. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, cool.
We've just about run out of time now, so I'm going to ask everyone to move into the live Q&A room. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll just wait a few minutes until people filter through from the masterclass room, and then we will get started.
Thanks, Maddie.
Great, we've got a couple of people in here already. I see more people are joining, so thank you Deb and Dean for joining me today. Josh isn't able to join today because he is out of range, I believe on a fishing trip. Is he, Dean?
Yes, he's in the snowy mountains actually, and yeah, he's unable to get back to connectivity at the moment. So he could join, but I think we'd be having an interrupted conversation. So it's best that he probably stays off.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So Dean, I'm going to come to you first with a question.
Sure.
And ask, do you have any additional tips for UK agents when it comes to selling fishing holidays or holidays incorporating a fishing trip?
Yeah, sure. So I think most importantly, we recognise that fishing's really niche. So we've tried to provide agents with tools to, I guess, help talk to their clients about. So we've got like fishing inquiry checklists. We've got selling fishing adventures, fact sheets, and they just talk to some of the terminology that sort of clients might use when they're talking about fishing-based experiences. And it's also takes those sort of first 4 or 5 questions that the consultant can ask, and then they can feed that information through to myself and we can point them in the right direction. So those tools are available on our corporate site, so tourism.australia.com/fishing, and they're also available on the Aussie Specialist site. And I believe I put some of them in this platform for download as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dean. We've had a great question from Jilly here. She said, I thought this wasn't going to be for me, but it looks fantastic. What can I do to convert more ladies to take a fishing trip? Deb, do you want to take that one?
Oh, sure. If you're talking about women travelling independently or as a group, there's lots of options. And if you're new to it and you're not just hardcore going on a mothership for a week, there's some beautiful options just to go out for the day. And I've recently had an experience with going out, and as I mentioned earlier, that the you can bring the fish back on shore and it's cooked in a lovely restaurant. You don't have to get your hands too dirty. And if you're not the type to bait your own hook, the lovely fellows on the boats are generally very, very helpful to do that for you and help you along. So it's very comfortable for you, not having to be one of the lads and chopping heads off fish and whatnot. So it's really good. So there are lots of options for women to fish if you're not necessarily a fisherwoman.
And we also have, Julie, just for your reference, we've also got like a wonderful female fly fishing guides as well in Tasmania. So if you do want an all-female experience, you can certainly, we can align you with a female guide as well. But yeah, the ladies have just as much fun on the water as the guys do. So yeah, certainly welcome you to pitch it to your clients.
Along the same lines here, Carol is asking what percentage of fishing trips are taken by women. Do you have any insight into that?
Yeah, so in all honesty, the domestic market's probably 80-20, I would say, 80% male, 20% female, with the exception of when you've got obviously couples traveling together. So there's certainly still that scenario where you tend to get, I guess, a group of gentlemen traveling together and the planning associated with it. But there's certainly plenty that go as couples, and it's a wonderful experience. Yeah.
Great. Suzanne has asked, what are the costs for these trips? Are you able to give us a range of what a fishing trip might cost?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, certainly from when you're dealing with, say, shared charters, which Deb and I went out with an operator in Cairns in March, and traditionally when you might be sharing the vessel with somewhere between sort of 8 to 12 packs, you're looking at a price point of around $300 Australian, $300 for a full day charter. Whereas if you've got a private charter, like a fly fishing guide that might be 1-to-1 or 1-to-2, they're in the range of sort of $800 to $1,000 per day. And then the remote lodges and the camps, etc., which are all inclusive of fishing, 3 meals, accommodation, basically all expenses paid, are pushing into sort of $1,500 Australian per day, bearing in mind that they're in very remote locations.
Okay. And Amanda has asked, what age are the fishing excursions from? So is there an age limit? Is there kind of a minimum age the visitors would have to be to take a fishing trip?
Yeah, so that's operator specific, but in short, when you're traveling with children, most of the time they'll go on the partners that'll do like the half-day experiences or the full-day experiences out of the cities. And one of those operators out of Melbourne is all the way down to sort of 4 and over. So it is operator specific, depending on what style of vessel, but we certainly have lots of children join their parents fishing, that's for sure.
Great. I know you've already mentioned that day trips are possible, but Brooke is asking, do you offer day trips? Are you able to expand on that at all? Give any examples of the day trips available?
Yeah, certainly. So almost in all our destinations, with the exception of maybe the remote lodges, say in the Northern Territory or Kimberley, most of the guides can either do single day trips or multi-day trips. So a lot of the time they will just customize the itinerary to what the client's time frame is. So Josh from Aussie Fly Fisher, who just sort of presented previously, most of his business is actually day trips, unless he's doing like a hosted multi-day trip.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And Carol has also asked, do they take solos on fishing trips? So I guess that's kind of a private fishing trip just for one person.
Yeah, and it happens a lot more than what most people think. So specifically with the what we would sort of say the FIT-based specialists, so those using smaller vessels or the center console type vessels, they are regularly taking private clients out. It really doesn't matter whether there's sort of 1 packs or 4 packs on the vessel. You just get a very much more of a personalised experience. Mm-hmm. And certainly in the fly fishing scene, they may also be after sort of some tuition as well.
Okay, great.
There's a good question earlier about, or a comment earlier about combining fishing with other activities, mm-hmm. and there are a lot of options. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a full week's fishing. If they want to incorporate fishing in the trip, there's still, your walking tours, your cultural tours, your, wineries, golf, and that sort of thing. So it can be a real combination, not necessarily, just a fishing trip. Mm-hmm. So there are lots of options to combine these great trips with other options for non-fisher people, and also people who love good fishing but they want to explore the regions as well.
Okay, great, thanks. Now we've had some comments here. One in from Suzanne, who said she'd caught her first fish when she was on a fam trip to Fraser Island, and it was an angelfish.
Oh wow, Fraser's so beautiful.
And we've had another one from Kate, who's saying she's a fisherwoman. It looks amazing, and she usually includes walking and water sports, etc. And we'll definitely look at fishing next time she's in Australia, which will be 2022.
Oh, well, we look forward to hosting, and it connects with fishing. Really connects with people's emotions and memories as well. And it's rare that you don't travel anywhere without having a conversation where someone will get a flashback to say, I caught my best catch here, or I lost a great catch here, or I have this memory of traveling with family or friends. So. I guess it's a really good leveler when you're out on the water, just to connect with emotions in general.
Mm-hmm. And it can get quite competitive.
Yeah,
yes, it can.
Suzanne has asked, are these fishing trips available to book with gold medal? Or in any UK tour operators?
Yeah, absolutely. So like all of the partners, gold medal, I don't know, to be honest, but we work with most of the land operators, and if we don't, then we'll just make it happen. So, certainly it's well geared towards trade, so I can support that sort of introduction as required.
Mm-hmm. And would the best way to do that to get in touch with you?
Yeah, just reach out directly. So my details are on the corporate page, and the whole objective behind these signature experiences is just that there's a single point of contact for each of the collectives. And so really, if there's nothing more than you take away from today, is that you can reach out to myself at any time. We've got resources specifically to support trade on fishing, and the conversation can start with myself at any time.
Great. Okay. We are just about out of time now.